Hey guys. We're going to get started here in just a minute. We've got a few other folks rolling in. And with the holiday season, a lot of people couldn't make it live. So we'll have the recording and we will send that out afterwards. If there's anything you miss today that you want to catch again, we'll send that out. And then anybody who couldn't make it live, we'll see that too. I'm going to go ahead and get started because I've got a lot to cover today. I'm really excited about some of the things that have come out really in just the last few weeks that are actually, I think, some of the big missing pieces, especially as we've seen how we've been helping apply this to larger companies. I think there's just a huge problem in general of lack of AI adoption. Small businesses, big businesses, a lot of individuals are still not making the most use of it. So today we're going to talk more about what we can do with that. And let me share my screen so we can see it. And then let's get into it. I really like this graphic at the top because I think it really represents like what we're trying to do with AI in general, like what the purpose is. This isn't a shiny graphic, but what it is, it's taking kind of things, objects, different IP, different processes that maybe intersect, maybe they're standalone, and then we're trying to bring them into more of a structured system on the right here. So that's really the goal of AI in my mind is to be able to create more structure, which makes speed more possible and more value creation possible. Today, I want to talk about, I had to add like the no BS key because I feel like this is almost like so clickbaity, this title, but it's true. This is, in my mind, the key to long-term AI adoption for both people, individuals, and the broader organizations that they're a part of. And so we're going to talk about how to 10x in my mind is actually probably conservative. Like I think I'm still like trying to quantify the value and the like additional productivity gains we have across all the various teams that I'm a part of and the different businesses that I'm involved with. And 10x is just what I slapped on there because that's my best estimate. But it's probably a lot more than that realistically. And then the whole purpose of this also is to not have to get our hands too dirty technically, like to not have to get really in the weeds of tech. And I think the key to AI actually like changing the world in the way that people like want it to and expect it to. This has to be approachable from a non-technical perspective, right? We can't all be expected to become machine learning experts to get the most out of AI. And today we're going to talk about what that looks like. And then most of us are on short on time. The fact that you're here, I'm really grateful. You made the time to learn this stuff and talk about it, but everyone is so short on time and everyone has limited budget nowadays. And this works for there's a lot of really high ticket AI consulting being sold, really expensive custom solutions, like crazy investment being made from the enterprise. And the truth is, you don't actually need a huge budget to get started with this. And so that's what I mean by limited budget. Individuals can get started, and this works for enterprise. So we're going to talk about the AI mistakes. We're going to talk about the AI first playbook. We're going to look at the AI agent workspace, some demos to show you some of these tools might be things you're familiar with. I would be willing to bet there's some things you haven't seen before here, no matter where you're at on the like curve of AI experience and knowledge. And we'll talk about what to do next. But first, I want to start with like where everyone is at. And so I would love to see in the chat, like where are you on this curve of AI usage, knowledge, comfort, confidence? Are you curious? Are you just here wondering like what can AI actually do for me practically? Are you more like capable, like you're wondering, like you're using ChatGPT and you're wanting to go further? Or maybe you're advanced and you're already like wondering how you can automate more things and you're using multiple tools. Maybe you're an expert. Maybe you're going to teach me some things, and I love when I can learn too. If you're here and you're an expert, I'd love for you to identify yourself. But go ahead and type in the chat where you're at. And I know some of you. Yeah, I know you, Joseph. Yeah, you're an expert for sure. Yeah, so we've got some experts on the call. So I'm excited to hear your feedback on this too, to see if you've maybe played with this, maybe you've got some additional things to add on to that. And then we've got some people that are maybe a little earlier in the journey. So one and a half, twos, that's great. Decimal, fractions, these are great. The cool thing is this is going to be approachable even for the people that are like on the one. They're just curious, maybe using it lightly. So the good news is there's something here for everyone. So let's go ahead and get into it. The biggest mistake I see right now is simply using Chat GPT or even custom GPTs. And this is where we started. So, I can't knock it too hard, but I think staying here is the problem. When custom GPTs came out, we GPTified a lot of things and there was a lot of leverage there. But I think now it's diminished, it's plateaued, and there's better options. And so ultimately, like Chat GPT is a sycophant. It just is a yes person. It's not a great critical thought partner for feedback. And then it's also ultimately a consumer quality product. They're going after the consumer market intentionally, and that's why it's sycophantic. So it's weird that we would try to use a consumer quality product in a professional business setting. So it's very easy to leak sensitive information. That's another huge problem with this. When you just arm your team with GPT licenses, there's some risks involved there. So the second big mistake I'm seeing is okay, people are trying to push it further and say, let's build custom AI agents or buy a SaaS solution that's targeted for our niche or our industry. And I actually argue that both of these are bad options. And we're going to talk about what I think is the best option after this, but I think this is the next logical step for most people. And I think it's expensive. It's very inefficient. Usually the time to like ROI is really long. And then it's just not really it's typically not consistent with real world business tasks. I don't know if you've tried any of these like tools, but a lot of them are like, okay, cool, it can maybe coordinate something on my calendar, but it can't actually solve really meaningful, valuable things in our business. So the third mistake I'm seeing, and this is a hot take because a lot of people are very pro vibe coding, but actually I argue it just increases security risks and bloats maintenance. It creates some kind of near-term advantage maybe. But I think if you just train everyone at a company to vibe code their own custom software, there was a time when I thought maybe this was actually going to be a good idea. But I think actually, after seeing it play out more and thinking about it more, this is actually a huge mistake and a huge problem. It just creates way more of a surface area that now has to be secured for a business. And I think there are cases for people that are a bit more technical or want to go down that path, or they have an in-house team. It could make sense to maybe get started with some software, but just be well aware of the overhead this is going to be to do this. Okay. And so these are kind of the three big mistakes. But in my mind, the biggest mistake is actually focusing on intelligence. I think everyone is obsessed with artificial intelligence. Obviously, it's in the name, but actually, we need to be focusing on reusable expertise. And I think it's interesting to think about AI tools are almost just like geniuses that don't have any experience. It's like they're incredibly book smart. They've been trained on all of this knowledge, theory, first principles. But when it comes to experience in the trenches, in the business, in the market, it doesn't really have it. It's almost like a professor that's like never actually practiced the discipline. And so I think like a good analogy would be like, who would you rather have do your taxes? The 300 IQ math genius who like could explain everything from first principles, or the 20-year veteran tax professional who knows, has all the scar tissues, seen all the mistakes made. It's like I'm picking that 20-year veteran, not the genius. So that's an example of we need to focus on, we in the real world value expertise over intelligence, raw intelligence. So we need to think about AI application in the same way. So I think the old way would be spending like weeks training a generic model, giving it all your information, all kinds of things like that, just weeks to the point of actually getting something that valuable. But I think the new way is actually having instant, like day one, like we should be able to give a fully trained AI tool and set of skills to our people when they start, and we should be able to get value out of it from the very beginning. Like I'm talking like minutes after creating something like this. So it's all about instant. AI is supposed to be fast. Why should it take months to get ROI from it? It makes no sense. But I think the way people are approaching AI, that's what's happening. So let's talk about what we should do instead. And what turned me on to this originally when I saw this concept of AI skills for at first was just the Claude platform. I was like, this is a huge unlock. And then we started using them and it was really making a huge difference. And then we started teaching it. And then I saw a talk just a few days ago by the people at Anthropic, the researchers themselves. And they're basically saying this is the way they recommend. They don't think you should build all this custom stuff. you should be using skills. And so what skills, AI skills are really just folders. It's just a way of organizing expertise, instructions, examples into these like little composable packages that can be shared. It's just like all the procedural knowledge, essentially all the IP, your SOPs, your checklists, all the documentation. And there's actually even more that's actually in people's heads that are the tribal knowledge that's not documented. All that can be packaged up into what's called a skill. And then you can plug that into more of a universal agent. You don't need to have an agent for finance, an agent for customer service, an agent for, you don't need to have all these individual AI tools. And that's a big problem right now is like the siloed nature of AIs in businesses right now. They're like, this is our AI for that, and that's our AI for this, and they don't talk to each other. And again, it's if this is so intelligent, like why are these silos and limitations? So skills, they can be used across these things with just one agent. And this allows the function of your business to interact, the systems of your business to engage with each other in a way that you can't currently do with these different custom solutions. So that allows you to do is then when somebody starts on day one, they immediately have access to all the skills, all of the years of experience and the best practices and the standards and just all that value, quite frankly, all that enterprise value that exists in the businesses, that's available to everyone and anyone inside the business at any time. And you can, of course, restrict it and control it and not say that everybody has access to everything. There's a way to govern it. But the point is it breaks down those silos and allows these AI tools to talk to each other. And then through those tools, the humans to talk to each other as well. So, like I was saying, we're seeing skills built by non-technical people, like from senior leaders, CEOs, down to individual contributors, managers in between, different types of subject matter experts, domain experts. Think of all the different functions of the business, the things they do every day, the different tasks, those are made up of skills, right? And so it's about mapping out your business into these skills, right? In the different functions. So what we are recommending is what we're calling the AI skill stack approach. And this is basically taking these core skills, and I want to give you some examples of skills so you really understand what I mean. An example of a core foundational skill would be like being able to create and edit an office document, think a presentation or something related to marketing, right? That would be like a core foundational skill. A middle kind of third party skill would be maybe something that interacts with your CRM or Notion, right? There are skills that these companies are actually creating that allow you to interact with their systems. And then you can build your own as well. And then the outer layer, which is actually internal, that's like the enterprise skills. And that's actually like the secret sauce. This allows a business and a person to codify the secret sauce, the stuff that's sometimes difficult to proceduralize, or what are the things that depend on the one person that is maybe out and now like something is stalled because that person's out, or if they leave the company. Think of all the risk that you can now codify as a procedural skill that then you can use Claude, their general agent, to interact with and use these skills for whatever part of the business that a person is working in. And the good news is these skills are not just specific to Claude, and that's a new thing. This shows how important this idea is. OpenAI is now releasing skills as well. So this is not, you're not going to have like vendor lock-in where you can only work with one AI lab, one model. The good news is, so you'll be able to basically package up all of the IP of the business or whatever you're working on. And then if you ever need to port that to a different model or use it with a different model, you can. So this isn't like again, this is the lowest risk, highest value way of approaching AI in a very practical way. Like you can go and you can do this. And we're actually going to walk through this now today. And my hope is like you can all walk away with a workspace set up with your first skill. And then you can see just how easy it is and then see the potential of where it can go. So this is how you need to think of it is like, what are your core skills? Like just interacting with documents. What are the middle layer that's maybe like proprietary data sources that you might have? And then what's the sort of outer layer that is like the really secret sauce? Like how do we generate financial analysis reports? How do we, it's like that's the stuff that no one else knows. None of these agents that a SaaS company is trying to sell you knows. It's the stuff that only your business or maybe your industry knows. It's the really unique stuff. So how do you actually do this? How do you codify your experience so you can teach it to agents to use? And so it's repeatable and consistent. Starts with onboarding your processes. Okay, so just documenting your tasks. What do you do? What goes on in your day to day? And this, if you're just thinking about this personally, just start journaling your day if you're not already aware of what you do in a given day. So it's great to use this personally, but then you can see how this starts to roll out and be advantageous for the whole team, the whole organization and beyond. And so start by your processes. What do you do every day? Now start connecting the different intellectual property. Maybe you reference certain sales materials or you reference certain data sources for financial research or analysis or whatever it is in your role or your level in the organization. Start thinking about what's that IP. And then you're going to be able to use these agents to really reinforce these standards and create the high quality consistency that pretty much everyone is missing from AI right now. It's like even the people I know that are really good with ChatGPT, it's still like I got to rework it quite a bit. I still need to polish it quite a bit afterwards. And so what we're seeing is a lot more like one shot creation and generation of things from skills that are trained on real stuff. It's not just generalized training, which is what most people are just depending on. It's actually remarkable the results it can get on non-IP and non-secret sauce, right? So when you can use your secret sauce in these skills and not worry about leaking sensitive information or anything like that, the outputs obviously are that much better. So let's continue here. I want to stop and just see, are there any questions? Has anybody tried this already? Is this just old hat and there's already something even better that you like? I'm just curious how this is landing because in the people that we've been teaching this to and talking with, it's been like pretty revolutionary. Has anyone tried this already or any questions on how you could go about this or what it means? Just want to open it up just to see before I continue on. Otherwise, I'll keep cruising. Cool. Okay. So today, this is the overall AI first playbook. Awesome. Thank you, Jen. We're going to talk about just a few pieces of this, but this is essentially our playbook for like how to roll this out for yourself and then be able to lead through your organization. And we believe like it starts at the top. The leaders themselves cannot delegate AI. They need to learn how to use AI and create skills for their own selves to be able to lead by example. And so this is the playbook that works for that. Today, we're going to focus on first the AI strategy builder. And so this is not just like a lecture. I want this to be an interactive workshop. And so what I'd like to do is actually now shift gears into some brainstorming. And so we're going to use one of the tools that we have called the AI Strategy Builder, which uses a pretty common framework, but if you're not familiar, it's called the Rice Prioritization Framework. And essentially, what we want to do is brainstorm jobs to be done. And so this might be a task or a process or a workflow or something that happens in your day, or maybe someone on your team's day that's really important. We want these to be high priority, high impact things, right? Or high impact things that we're prioritizing here. So the goal is to brainstorm a list here, and then in the columns to the right, actually give a score or an estimate. And we like to use t-shirt sizing. So small, medium, large, maybe an XL if you need it. And try to estimate the reach and the impact and the confidence that you have that you can deliver on it, and then the effort that it'll take to actually document this skill. Maybe it requires a lot of different data sources, or maybe it's a very kind of complex thing. We want to try to size this up based on what you know about the problem and how it's currently done to be able to prioritize what are the things that are going to be most impactful. I think another problem is a lot of people are building AI, applying AI to things that are low impact and not actually that meaningful. And so we want to focus on the top ones. Joseph, what are you thinking? Oh, I think you're not muted, but I can't hear you actually. Just want to make sure it's not me. I'm gonna take a drink here. Cool. If you sort that out and jump back in, I would love, or if you want to type it in, I want to know your question or your thought here. But what I'd like to do is actually set some time on the clock. I'm hoping you all have something to apply AI to, and that's why you're here. And there's probably some business problem or something that you'd like to explore. And so what I'd like to do is put that down here and then also maybe brainstorm some other ones that you hadn't thought of. Maybe today has jogged loose some new ideas. And so what I'd like to do is I'm going to set, for some reason my timer app on Zoom is not working today. So what I'm going to do is set the timer on my phone here, and I'm going to set it for 2 minutes. Before I do that, though, I want to stop and see if anyone has any questions. Just to recap, what we want to do here is write down, type down whatever you've got handy. If you want to draw this out on your notebook or just write it out, what are the jobs to be done? That's what JTBD stands for. And then give it a score, a rating for RICE, reach, impact, confidence, and effort. Let me set the timer now, and then we'll go. And then I would love to hear what people have after that. So if we can share. So I'm going to set 2 minutes. We'll start there. If we need more time, we can take it. 2 minutes is on the clock. What's going to make the biggest difference? Think time savings, maybe growth opportunity. I think a lot of people are in the mindset of efficiency cutting. So is there something like if you could save 10 hours a week, what would that enable you to do? Probably some growth related things. So sometimes if you focus on the efficiency jobs, that'll free you up for other things. So what's going to make the most difference for you in your day job or in your business or maybe your client's business? Got about a minute left. I'd love to hear what people have brainstormed. Awesome, James. Thanks for sharing. I think that's a great use case. What do you currently use for your GTD workflow? I've been a GTD fanatic for to varying degrees over the course of my career, so I'm pretty familiar. Is it like Things or something, or OmniFocus or text file?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've part of the reason that I'm still in this process is because I've banged my head on GTD over the years. Um,
Yep.
and complete with the initiation of like finding every piece of paper in my entire life and like dumping it on the floor. So
Been
I,
there. Yep.
I've so gone through the loop with it a few times, but not necessarily gotten like a sort of every different version of a software solution that I've come to has fallen flat in one way or another. Often it's just the overhead of interacting actually with whatever. So
It's
you
the
know,
management of the tool.
yeah,
Yeah.
greenfield, it always feels great. And then a month in, I'm often like, okay, now I've emptied my brain and life of all of my intentions and ideas. And now I'm like pretty deep in a gobbledygook of those things just externalized, which I think is like a pretty classic GTD failure mode. It's probably failing on the like regular reviews. So just trying to see if I
Yeah.
can get Claude to lower the bar on those things. That's one of the things I've found thus far in my AI journey that is one of the most immediate benefits is actually psychological, that I can just
Mhm.
be like, even if I don't have this whatever I'm about to do fully in my head, and I don't have maybe perfect personal expertise with the subject matter that I'm about to jump into, as long as I have like sanity point checks and like a place to start, I can usually get somewhere meaningful relatively with like relatively low total effort. And so I'm just trying to figure out if I can systematize that, and skills seem like a kind of cool way to try to
Oh,
skin.
no, I think this is a great example because right away I wouldn't try to overthink it too much. I would ask Claude to help me make a skill for
Mhm.
GTD.
I did that at 2 a.m. last night for
Okay.
reasons we don't have to go into.
There you
Um,
go. And so rather than trying to create the ultimate skill from scratch, like how could you weave together the best productivity frameworks, the best of the best to create your own system? And
yeah.
that's what I have. It's weird. It's homegrown and combined like GTD with some other things I picked up over the years from people that I respect. And so you've inspired me. I actually might try to, right now I'm again managing the tools. It's a simple Apple
Mhm.
Notes thing, but I think it's an interesting idea to just say, help me create the ultimate productivity skill based on things that I value from GTD and or other things.
Yeah. And so where I'm at with that, like directly to your example, is like how to specifically, explicitly, and safely connect a set of skills to the data sources involved and or to whatever kind of
Yeah.
data source they might need themselves in order to like track things.
I'm so glad you asked. Let's get into that.
Yeah.
No, this is a perfect
Cool.
use case. So thanks for sharing, James. Like that, if you don't mind, I'll refer to that one more throughout the session. I want
Yeah,
to
for sure. Run with it.
Awesome. Thank you. I want to stop and see what other things people maybe wrote down that they want to focus on. Did they find, yeah, this was like a speed prioritization exercise. Did not give it justice. I want to mainly introduce the idea of how to approach this so you can do it on your own time. But I want to hear from anyone else that wants to share. Joseph, maybe you've got audio now too. So if you wanted to chime in, but who else has something they wanted to share from their list?
I was gonna kick off. Can you hear me now? We're good.
Yes, we're good. Yes.
Awesome.
What do you got?
Which I don't know if anybody's mentioned yet. I was gonna say just as far as prioritization, strategy builder, thinking about the impact of some automation stuff. One that I've used recently is bank statements, digital recording of the bank statements, and then organization per organization. So
Oh
different
yeah.
real estate entity versus tech entity have different I have different bank accounts for them, but beyond that, they have different kinds of categorization about what needs to go where and how it needs to be saved. And digital things are only
Oh
available
yeah,
for
you
18
can
months, all that stuff.
that's a great one. I'm excited because I actually built something similar already for that for my ag fintech startup, AcreHedge, where we basically it like read uses Gemini Vision to read receipts, handwritten documents, and then it builds out P&L budgets based on that. And so you can absolutely do that for yourself personally. I think that's a really cool idea. And did that all with coded by Claude Code 100%, did not write a single line of code by hand, and then using Gemini Vision API. So it's a bit technical. We don't need to go into the details now, but I love that as a use case or a priority for you. Who else has one that you want to share
Okay, so
as well?
I may be totally off on. I feel like I don't understand half of this conversation, so this might be
That's
completely off of what you're trying to ask. But I simply want to start with I'm a CFO that does everything from the bookkeeping to the
Yep.
analysis and the consolidation.
Yep.
So I thought one of the ways to just reduce useless work time is if I could figure out how to create an AI that can read my emails and at least take invoices, put them in the right place, right? Because there's like maybe 5 or 6 companies, and I get
Hmm.
all the invoices for all the 6 companies in the same email. Can I get something to read my emails, even ask me a question or read the attachment,
Yep.
upload it to the right place, both in QuickBooks or in whatever accounting system, plus like a folder on my computer. Is this the kind of thing
Yeah.
that you're saying?
A hundred
Because if I
percent.
can start there, that just killed
You're in
two
the right
days
place.
of worthless
Yeah.
time spent.
You're in the right place. No, this is exactly what you can do with this. So that is a great example of that's not going to be one AI that does all that. I think that's the one point I want to call out is it's not one kind of monolithic AI. It's going to be a set of skills that can be pieced together with different workflows.
That's
And
fine. That's
yeah,
better for me because I do not know what I'm doing. So if I can understand how small and minute to break it out and say, first
yes.
do this, and then I can at least start with one piece.
Yes, absolutely. My first question though, who's your email provider? Who do you use for
Google,
email? Google?
Google.
Oh, this is even easier then. Yeah, that's great. They actually just released this new thing. It's literally, I think it called Workspace Workflows. And it basically
Works.
allows you to connect the whole Google Business Suite with agents that basically can reply to emails, categorize emails. This
Oh,
is new, but it's literally perfect. There's more work to be done if you're not on the Google Business Suite, but honestly, it's so awesome. I would like switch to Google Business Suite just to get the advantages of it. So that's going to solve like a lot of what you're talking about, but I think there's even more stuff that maybe you might not even be thinking about yet that the skills specifically can help with.
I
So
want to automate 90% of what I do, and I think it's possible.
I think so. If not yet, it will be soon. And I think take a look at that. I won't have time to go over all that today, but these kinds of tools, implementing these kinds of tools are exactly what we do in our full program and help you week over week. And so I'm happy to follow up later if you want to hear more about how that works, but that's the purpose. Today is meant to open your eyes to some new possibilities, inspire you, give you some things to start with, but that's ultimately the purpose of our longer program. But that is a great example, I think, of a North Star of like, how could I make myself redundant, basically? And that's what I'm always thinking about, because then I can work like on the business instead of in the business, right? How can I grow it? How can I sit on a beach if I want to? I'm more of a camper. So let's hear from anyone else that maybe wants to share. Do you have any other jobs to be done or things that you wanted to prioritize or focus? And thanks for sharing as well. Okay, let's go into what we call the AI agent workspace. And I think this is a problem right now is that AI is just abstract for a lot of people. It's like you might go to chatgpt.com, but you don't have this sense of a workbench or a workspace. And so we think of the workspace as like this organizational tool for where you have your AI skills, where you have your tools, which would be like agents and other things, and then where you have maybe just your personal prompts and instructions. Not everything is ultimately a skill. A skill should be something that's repeatable, right? It's things that you want to essentially bake the expertise. But at the end of the day, humans are still making decisions and giving one-off instructions and things like that. So those are considered prompts still. I want to look at three main pieces of our AI agent workspace. We're going to look at Claude as the general agent that can run all of this incredibly specific skills and the really valuable stuff that you're going to create from the things you already know and do. And we're going to look at AI Studio, which is by Google as well. Gemini 3 is really great, and especially the nano banana image generation. It's actually what made this whiteboard image. I just said, gave it a prompt and said, make it literally a whiteboard image. And this is what it came up with. It even has the glare in the, like the reflection of the light, the fake light. So anyway, it's amazing for image generation. We've been using it a lot. We'll look at that. And then we'll also look at Notebook LM if you're not already using that. Notebook LM is useful for a lot of different things. And think of it as almost like the strategic like boardroom. And then I think of Claude as like the war room. That's where you're in the trenches, in the weeds, really doing the work. But Notebook LM is really quite good at strategizing and synthesizing specifically. So we're going to look at all three of these things in the rest of the time that we have today. And if anyone has any questions at any point or want to share any other tools if we have time at the end or want to ask about certain tools, this is a very small slice of the pie, but we try. Basically, my full-time job is just trying things and seeing where they can be used and seeing where the breakthroughs are. So if there's any other questions that people have, we will probably have some time for that too. So let's start with Claude. What I'd like to do is let's go ahead and get this set up. So I'm going to let me do that in a new window. So if you want to follow along and actually do something here, make this a full workshop, let's follow along. And so what you want to do is go to claude.ai and sign up if you're not already. The next thing you want to do, and this goes for any AI tools, you want to go to privacy and make sure privacy mode is turned on. This is not on by default. So this is a big gotcha that is always the first warning sign that I always want to raise, which is turn this off. So help improve Claude. Not on my watch. I don't want that. I'll let them buy their own data to train their models. So what we're going to do is turn that off. So this would be on. We're going to toggle that off and make sure that's off. That will ensure that anything you put into Claude, that's going to stay secure and not sent back to their models. And we're going to look at, I don't want to get too in the details of how and why it keeps your information safe, but know that it's not sending all of your documents, all of your secret sauce. Like when you create these skills, when you put your prized expertise, decades worth into writing, it's not going to take that. And so I'm happy to elaborate further if we have time, or if somebody wants to pull me aside and ask about the technical reasons why, I'm happy to elaborate, but no, that's true. So the very first thing is turn that off. The next thing you want to do is go to capabilities. And there's a few things. Actually, first we're going to look at connectors because some people were talking about different data sources. And this is where, when it comes to GTD, James, You could potentially connect your calendar, your email. This is now going to have access to the Claude agent and any skills that you write. So you could write a skill that is how you do your daily triage or your weekly review process as part of GTD. And it could run that process of what you follow every week, and it could run that automatically for you when you trigger that skill, as just one example. So you might have multiple skills within your GTD process or system. And then there's a way to basically get those triggered when you need to. So the first step is get your data sources set up right. Where's your IP? You can connect Google Drive. These are just some of the connectors that are native. There's actually quite a few here that are native to Claude. You can create custom ones too. So just know that if it's not on here, you can create custom ones as well. This requires a little bit of technical setup. That's something we can help with, but if you have a tech team, you may need their help as well. But there's a ton of stuff out of the box. You can get really far with just what's in here.
But you need to pay, right?
So
Can't.
this is going to be $20 a month to get,
Uh-huh.
and if you have a team, obviously per seat, but I'm telling you, it's the best $20 you'll ever spend. We also pay for Claude Max, which is actually $100 a month. We give every employee on the team that delivers anything that subscription. So $100 a month. We get so much ROI on that. We don't have to hire as much. They have more fun. They feel like they've got superpowers. So anyway, the ROI on our $100 a month is probably 10,000 a month at least.
Do you also pay for Chat GBT?
No.
So you prefer Claude?
Yeah, we've given up on ChatGPT, and I'm like, this is becoming my new drum to beat because it stands out because everyone's like ChatGPT this, ChatGPT that, but it actually is inferior in almost every way. They just have the biggest marketing budget, so they're the most well known, and they were the first to market. So you can connect a lot here. Great question too. Thank you. After the connectors, let's say you've got all the data that you need. Now you go to capabilities. And so this is where we're going to actually turn on skills. There's a couple of things that's cool. There's the memory, which you can modify here. And you can see this is my memory built up. It's got all kinds of brief history, stuff about my family. It's interesting to see what it codifies as memory. But you can edit it too, and you can delete it if you want to get rid of it. You can also have per project memory too. So you've got this kind of like global memory, which is useful, but you can also have it on a per project basis. But I want to draw your attention to the skills section down here. You can really easily add skills. You can see a bunch that we already have here installed. And then you can add new ones here. And it's actually crazy how easy it is. You basically just have to create a folder like we were talking about earlier. Skill is just a folder with a file called skill.md. And you can see the instructions right here. You just need to zip that up and then you upload it right in here and boom, now your skill is accessible and usable. And so what I'd like to do is look at a skill. Let's see. So that you can get a feel for how easy these are to create. We're gonna look at a very basic one, but this is what I mean by like non-technical people are writing these skills. Let me show you the raw so you can see what it looks like. So basically you open a file, you call it skill.md, and then you give it this little format at the top. This is the instructions. And so we're looking at one of our most commonly used skills. It's a skill that basically rewrites content to not sound like AI. It's like the anti-AI slop skill. Almost everything passes through it. And we're always refining on this. So you can see there's a bunch of instructions. And this can be like your brand guidelines can be in here. You can have your brand guidelines as a separate skill, by the way, but you can have things that are around your brand tone in here, whatever, stylistic things. That's down here in the instructions, right? And you can even see, it might even mention GPT because this used to be a GPT. We used to have to take the output of one custom GPT and then paste it through here and take that as like this washing machine. And now with Claude Agent, we can just describe it as a skill. And then any time that we have written content, it'll use this as the last skill invoked. So basically it will create the content, then it'll run it through this, it'll use this skill, and then out pops the final output that's way cleaner and you don't have to edit it. So this is just one example of skill. So it's if you can write dash name colon, give it a name, description, give it a description dash, that's as much code if you want to call it that, that you have to write. So that's as technical as it gets. So that's what a skill looks like. And you can see we've got a bunch here. We're always testing new ones. And the cool thing is they can be shared with the team. Right now, you have to install them individually, but Claude is, or Anthropic is releasing basically organizational skills. And that'll allow you to control who has access to what skills, roll them out from a centralized place. But for now, we're basically collaborating on these across different teams. And then let's look into how to use them. So let's look at a project. Oh, what would be interesting to look at here? Let's take a look at this one. So this is a project around like how we create like B2B specific content for tech leaders around our AI training programs that we do for companies. And so the cool thing here is what you can do is basically load in a bunch of files given related to a project. And you might want to say a project is like a workflow or it's something that you do. It's like a discrete thing that needs to be done. And then you can add whatever relevant files are important to it. And then you can have instructions. And this is where you can literally piece it together skills. This is if you would give a person instructions, like delegate something to a person. You'd say, use your writing skill to write an email for our marketing campaign about blah, 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 blah. So you would say what skills to invoke. You literally put that in here as instructions. It's almost like communicating to a human. If you're a good leader or manager, the age of AI is ripe for your taking because most people are terrible communicators. Most people are not good at leadership and management. They're struggling with AI the most and will. And so if you have these soft skills, and I think another thing that I like to highlight is like if you're a leader to any degree, language is what got you there actually. And so this is just an extension of that, right? And it's more leverage. It's like you can say and think things that no one else can and that will allow you to get better results. And so your instructions are a great place to put a lot of energy and say, if you could design the ultimate employee, Isabel, like in your case, if you could find your replacement, so you could sail off into the sunset, what are the skills they have? And then how could you create those skills? And you can use AI to create those skills. You can also hire experts. Or if you already know the expertise, you obviously can bake it yourself. But we like to hire people that are great at what they do and say, we need to codify this expertise as a skill, and then we use it. So think about designing your superstar team. It's like the ultimate like leader's dream, right? Like what skills do they have? What do they do? And how would I tell them to do what needs to be done? And that's what the instructions essentially are. And then you can have all these chats here, and these are all contextual to this project. This is just like the chat-based agent. The other cool thing is if you really wanted to get technical, there is a side over here that can also invoke the same skills. So if you do have a tech team, you can share these skills across people on your tech team and enforce the same kinds of standards, branding guidelines, coding standards, all kinds of things. So that's really one of the big beauties of skills is they're portable, cross-function, cross-organization. It's finally a way to like there's companies that are good at documentation. I meet them sometimes where they've got incredible diagrams and written documentation, but this is taking that up to 11. And the companies and the people that get good at this are going to blow the competition out of the water. So that's my rant on like why you should pay attention to this and why it matters. And it's literally from like the mouths of, let me go over here. It's from the mouths of Anthropic themselves. They're just too busy innovating and inventing to teach and tell everybody. And so I feel like I'm taking it upon myself to be like, this is the way. The inventors themselves are telling us this, but nobody knows really. So that's Claude agent skills. I want to stop and just see. That's like, yeah, awesome. Thank you, Joseph. A lot of people have tried AI Studio. A lot of people have tried Notebook LM. So I want to stop here to see, would we rather have more time spent on this idea of agent skills, or do you want to learn about Notebook LM and AI Studio and how that can be used? Yeah, we could go anyway, and maybe you don't even know, and that's okay too. I wanted to, though, just see if there's what would stop you from writing a skill like tomorrow or today even? Like, why wait, I guess? Is there any uncertainty about what would make a good skill or how do I actually approach it? I think skills is the most powerful thing in AI right now. So I don't want to like breeze past that too quickly just to show another shiny object.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah,
Todd, real
please.
quick, just really quickly, Todd and I aligned on some of the educational stuff and stuff we've talked in different circles. Like I would personally offer you a money back guarantee if you spend $20 on Claude and don't get the value out of it after you add a skill that Todd just taught you how to add. Like I will personally come talk
I
to me,
love
get
that. Thank
coffee
you.
with me. I will give you $20 back if you
He's
don't use
guaranteeing
Claude.
it. You heard it here first. Thank you, Joseph. Appreciate the faith in that because it really is it's probably going to get more expensive in the future. Investors are subsidizing the cost right now. So in my mind, like I'm trying to get as much value out of this stuff as I can while it's subsidized. Awesome. Thank you for that. Jen, what are you thinking?
It's actually a question, and part of what I love about AI as a non-technical person is that you can ask the AI to help you tell the AI what to do.
Totally.
So that's how I have approached this, and I have created my first skill, and I'm looking at it, and I'm guessing this is a really dumb question, but there's the skill, and then there's the usage guide, and I need to understand what the usage guide is for. Does my team need to study the usage guide to be able to use the skill? I don't think they do,
Do you
but
want
what's the
to share?
usage?
And you could either share your screen. I'm curious what it created because it's possible it created something different. I mean, what I'm guessing, if I had to assume, is it's like how you would wrap it up in instructions to plug it into a given project. So
Possibly. I
yeah,
can share my screen if you'll give me,
yeah.
do I
Let
have,
me make sure. Let's see here. Are you able to share now?
yes.
Awesome.
Okay. So this is what it came up with.
Awesome.
But
Okay, so
here's
you've
the
got the vision
skill, and then there's
designers.
the, and this would
Yep.
be the usage guide over here.
Okay, so it looks like actually, can you click the usage guide? It looks like I'm actually looking at the skill unless I'm misreading it. When you click, that's what's opened? Huh. Because when I see what I see there is the skill.md, which is actually the skill itself, which would
Over
be the,
here, right?
yeah. Do you see the top thing where it says vision designer skill? It's like in the
Yeah.
left chat. So when you click vision designer usage guide in the left, does anything
This is what
happen?
it gives, is this text MD file.
Huh. Yeah, I think that
Oh,
actually
I'll
just
bet you
looks,
can't see it, can you?
oh, that's probably it. I'm not seeing something. Okay, now.
I just shared one screen.
Okay.
Hold on just a
I
second.
thought I was missing something. I was.
Let me just share my desktop. So this is a usage guide. Can you see it?
Yeah, so this is like for someone that maybe doesn't know anything about the concept of this skill. So if you see how an example prompt, this is basically telling you how you could invoke the skill.
Yeah,
I know this is not very easy to read. It's basically in Markdown. There's some
right.
different tools you could do to reformat this, but do you see where it says example prompt? I need to review this client's vision canvas using the vision designer skill. Basically, if you installed the skill, which is the other thing that it created, you could use it, the skill, by typing in that example prompt or pasting in that example prompt. And so it's
Oh, and
basically
that will
telling you
summon the skill.
exactly, that'll trigger. Basically, there are these triggers for the skill itself. And the triggers are defined by what you have in the name and the description of the
Yeah.
skill file itself. So you can change those triggers, but this is basically saying how to use it. And then it's explaining what is it doing behind the scenes. It's interesting. I've actually not seen this. That I think this is maybe a newer thing that the skill creator is doing because the ones that we created did not have this. And so see, it shows you like how to make it, how to use the skill better by giving it more specific instructions. This is almost like leadership coaching for the skill itself, is the way to think
Yeah.
of it. And so you give this to anyone that would want to use it, and it's like, here's how to lead this skill to get the most out of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And so then you could start to think this is where it gets really interesting. How could you give a bunch of usage guides to Claude and say, create a workflow from how to get the most out of these skill usages that accomplishes some objective? I think there's
Well,
a lot
and
of interesting places you could go with that.
I'm thinking about it from a bigger, so a lot of the clients that we work with don't have a lot of structural capital. So
Yep.
think about the companies that take the time to feed this into AI, the value of their company at sale
Oh, this is
goes
so
through
much
the roof.
enterprise value here. It's like
Yeah.
SOPs on steroids. We know
Yeah.
SOPs create valuation multiples, but like a skill is going to be like a multiple of a multiple, honestly.
That's what I think too.
Yeah.
And frankly, that's why I'm here. This is so
Well,
fun.
I thank you for joining us today. Hopefully this was useful. Sheldon, I see your question. Thank you for that. So think of skill. Right now, skills are not supported by anything Google related. And so the good news is you could write a skill that integrates with Gemini or integrates with Nano Banana. And I've already seen some people that created those. So you'll see there's like an ecosystem out there of skills that people are creating. And so we've created our set, and that's one of the things we give you in our full program is like we give you all of the skills that we've created ourselves. And as we continue to evolve to those, you basically get those out of the box. But essentially, you need to create a skill that connects to Gemini or Nano Banana. But the good news is we already have one for you. So if you want that, but there's no way to use a skill inside of Gemini, if that makes sense. Yeah. Great question. Okay, we got some more questions here. So James asked, can you make a distinction between MCP and skills? What is the difference between an MCP server and a skill? I think if I'm understanding you correctly. So essentially an MCP server, think of it as like a data source. So think of an external tool, a third-party tool. A skill is strictly expertise. So an MCP is think of it as a something else. It's a data or a tool, and a skill is like what you do with data or a tool. It's like the procedural intel that allows you to operate on that stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I guess I've been hearing you talk about skills, like you were just saying, you can actually create skills to connect to Gemini. And I feel like I've seen some people elsewhere mention that, but I don't understand how that works as opposed to, I do understand how an MCP server works, but
Okay. Yeah. So a skill can wrap an MCP server, and in fact, that's what you'd want to do. So basically, if you wanted to create like let's say you did use like the OmniFocus app for GTD, you could create an OmniFocus skill that has a bunch of instructions, maybe your homegrown process, any other tweaks, optimizations that you do when you do it manually. That's in the skill that wraps the OmniFocus MCP.
Okay. And then I guess I'm one of the benefits of skills that I've seen mentioned a lot is protecting your context window. And so is the idea there that the MCP lives inside the skill and is then only loaded when the skill is loaded?
It's called progressive disclosure, actually, is the key to the performance of agents with skills, meaning the agent is only aware of that top layer of metadata. If we look at that skill again, let me just pull this up. If we look at, oh, I guess I closed my window. Oh, no, there it is. It's hiding. All the agent knows about is this data. So it can index like hundreds, thousands of skills. It's highly scalable. And then when it needs to know the skill, it learns it immediately. It reads the skill and then the expertise.
And that's a skill. So the skill then becomes added to the context window, and then the skill
Exactly.
itself can invoke the MCP, which also gets added. Is that?
That's exactly it. Yeah. So to me, it's pretty exciting, the idea of hiring your superstar team, the best team in the world, and you only need to use them when you need them.
They don't all have to sit in a room together talking.
Yeah,
to each other
that's
every time they go to
expensive,
do
right?
something.
Yeah, you don't have the overhead of an office to hold all the employees that you would ever need.
Right.
And you don't have the salary to pay them, but this you
Right.
do for 20 bucks a month. To
Yeah.
Joseph's point, he'll pay for it if you don't get the value. Yeah, great question though. A little bit more technical, and don't worry that if you don't know what MCP means, you don't need to be worried about the acronyms here. Like just start with putting your experience, something that you do based on a job that you do in your day, and start there. Start small. Like for us, it was like we wanted to not make our content sound AI generated. So we started with the anti-AI scale. It's like a very common problem, very simple to start with, right? Not complex, no outside data sources. We were just like, make this not suck. And that was a place to start. And then we just kept building from there. Let's see. So Matthew asked, accurate to say Claude Skills are essentially a library of system prompts that are invoked when applicable in a project. Yeah, yep, with the gems. Yeah, it's a lot similar to that, but I think the downside is gems are very Gemini specific, and I think the broader industry probably won't adopt it, whereas skills is actually starting to look like a protocol, MCP, where it's all the labs are adopting it. So yes, the short answer is yes. The long answer is be careful with the platform lock-in. And that's why I was a little worried about Claude Skills until literally like 5 days ago. It was clearly the best, but I was like, it's platform specific. But now OpenAI is betting on it, and now everyone else will too. I'm confident. I'm now screaming from the rooftops. Everyone's sleeping on skills. ChatGPT sucks. Don't vibe code. And I know that's like kind of counter, but that's a hill that I'm climbing on. I don't know. I don't want to die on it, but I'm definitely climbing on it. Anyway, that's what I had planned for today. I'm looking at time here. I don't know if anyone else has other questions. If you take away one thing from today, it's like skills are the most important thing to come out since like ChatGPT, in my opinion. And no one's talking about it because everyone's trying to sell their own custom software stuff. So use skills and show other people. Cool. Thanks, James. Appreciate it. We'll send out the recording so you can rewatch this. I'll share the slides and I'll share some example skills. We've got the anti-AI skill and a couple others in case you want to use those for inspiration. So yeah, thanks for joining. And if I don't talk to you before the holidays, have a great holiday break and see you in the new year.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.